So in this video we are going to start to put together our final art outcome. We've got our backgrounds, what we've already made, and we are going to look at this image here. This is going to be our inspiration image, and we are going to create some studies of lemon slices and arrange them onto our background. So the first thing we need is to draw around different circular items, so then we can either overlap or position our paper onto our backgrounds. And the whole purpose is not to fit the whole circular lemon slice on. So I have found a plate and I'm only going to use just over half, and then I'm going to cut that out as our first drawing area. So for my next drawing I am going to use part of this corner, and I've got a slightly smaller plate, and I'm just going to draw one corner. So this will be part of our lemon segment, and then at the top here I'm going to draw another section like so, and then I'm just going to cut them out. So once you've cut out your different lemon segments, we can work out where we would like to have them. So the corner parts will have to go in the corner, but the rotation of them is up to you. So I could have mine there, or something like this. As you rotate them, you can see the parts of the background, what's left behind, starts to change. Remember, you can't have it like this because the right angle square bit needs to go in the corner. So this shape can be this way round. And then I'm left with a bit of an unusual shape in my background. So once you've worked out the layout of all of your slices of lemon, we are going to start our shading, and you should have your oil pastels, and you will need the yellow, the white, mustard yellow, kind of tan brown, darker brown, even the peach. And we're going to start off with the rind of the lemon, which is that outside skin part. So going back to our inspiration image, it is going to be this part. So have your piece on a scrap piece of paper, because we are going to use our oil pastels in a direction which comes off the page. I've got my white, my peach, the mustard and the yellow. And this time, using the mustard, we are going to just put some flicks all the way around the edge. Some are going to be closer together, some are going to be further apart, some are going to be a little bit longer, some are going to be lighter. And then once we've done the mustard, we're just going to go over all of it with some yellow, same technique. And then finally, the white. The white should help everything just blend in. We can move on to the different segment parts. So using my oil pastel, start to create nice wavy patterns. Remember that white is really important. Tone down all of our colours. I'm just following from my inspiration image to create all of my segments. That's circular motion again. And then we'll have to do our white rind part, so I'm just making all the gaps now filled with white. And at this point we can decide if we want some bit darker yellows, make any improvements. We should have lots of different lines, creating here. And then we can add that to our backgrounds. So for our largest lemon slice, we are going to create our inner segments being inspired by this image here. So we will need our white, our mustard, our yellow and our peach to do this. So the first thing we're going to do is, using the mustard, create the outside skim. I'm just solidly creating a bit of a border. Okay. Then using the yellow, we can overlap just a nice thin, lighter inner. Okay, so this part is going to be divided up into around about 4 or 5 different parts, and we're not going to use our pencil to mark out the segments because we're using really light colours. You'll be able to still see the pencil mark through. So I've got like an orange pencil. If you've got a yellow, you can use a yellow or just something light just to map out our different segment areas where we've got the white in between. And I'm pushing very lightly, so it's probably not even visible on the camera, just to show me the parts that I am going to be shading. So we're going to create our segments, which is a mixture, a bit of a pattern by using them sort of colours. So if you've got some scrap paper, you can try to just mix some of these colours together in all random shapes. So I'm going to start over here and remember, when we use our white, we can go over the top of a colour to make it a bit lighter, or just go over one side and you've got a bit of a gradient happening. So just making a series of blobs which appear to look like some of the segments. And I'm using my white to make the yellow paler in colour, and then in between each segment we're just going to put a bit of a white stripe to break it up. And I'm doing my pattern at random, so use your inspiration image to help you, and have some fun with it, like blend and overlap different colours. Only use these 4 colours from your colour palette. Some circular pattern. And as the white touches the other colours, it starts to make a pale version. You can push a little bit lighter with the yellows as well. It's looking good already. Try and mix up the colours as well so they're not all the same. So here I've introduced the mustard colour, using a lot more of that peach and just a little bit of yellow. Just use that white on top to get some more texture. And if you're coming too close to the wrapper, you can peel off a section just to help you continue using your pastel. And I'm just putting my white line in. My line. So if you are using that yellow mustard colour, only use it for little parts because it is a lot darker than the others. So I'm just going to introduce it again, just for a little triangle part here. Okay, so our last step is just to go around, add in the white all in between our segments. And I know it's not going to be pure white. The white will have some of the yellow, some of the peach on your pastel, but it will help with the texture and to create the outside part connected to the segments. And also it ties together because it's got all the same material. So using our brown or our orange pencil, the last thing to do is just to define some of the segments a little bit clearer. Just put a very faint outline. I'm not going all the way around each part, But for the darker parts where I've got this mustard colour, work. And then for the yellower parts, just marking with the oil pastel, kind of oval shapes really, scratching the surface to create a resemblance to the inside of the lemon. And look how light I have done it, okay? You can't really see it, it's just when you come up close you can see some added texture. Put some lines in. And then we can put it in position with our light blue shadow on our final . So using some white paper, I have cut out some little strips of paper, and they need to go down to a point at one end and then be thicker at the other end. And these are just to define some of the in-between parts to our lemon. And by adding this on, if I give it a bit of texture, help separate the segments. And I'm not going to do it to every single segment, I'm just going to have a look and see which looks effective before I stick them down. So this is going to work for one of our smaller segments, not the big half of a lemon. So this time we're going to add our shading onto the yellow background. So again, have your inspiration image at hand, and this time instead of adding the yellow shading, we are going to add the white parts and also the slightly darker parts with our oil pastel. So to start off with, just like before, we are going to put a bit of a darker edge to our lemon. And once we have done that and we are happy, with our shading, we're going to move on to the white part. So remember, this white part is going to show up. Okay. Now using our white, we're just going to mark out the segments. Now we just need to put some extra shading in here. So for some of the dark edges, we can use yellow. Some of our rings. And then we can use our white very lightly to trace squiggles and again. And then once we're happy with our shading, which was enough white to define the segments, we can position it in place. So our final step is then putting our white pieces of paper inside to define our segments. I'm just going to put 2 bits in this time. I'm going to add a bit of a purple shadow. So I'm just going to trace where it's going to be very lightly. And then just to show you, get some white background, I'm going to put my shadow I think it's a little bit thicker. This time goes right to the edge. It's quite narrow. And I'm just going to do the same. And then I'm going to shade him using my purple. You can start to see it. Once you're happy, and then stick our lemon final segment. Just going to draw round, and so it has a pencil mark on here, because we are going to add a bit of a shadow. I'm going to use some of my scrap paper okay, and then just to draw that extra line, so all this white part is going to be our shadow. So on our actual background, we now need to get a blue. So if, like mine, your lemon is going to be stuck onto a dark side, use a bit of a lighter blue. Whereas if you're sticking it on the light part, you can go for a bit of a darker blue. Okay, so I'm going to go for this blue here, and we are going to, doesn't matter if you get pastel that side of the line, because our lemon's going to be stuck on. This part we are going to just shade our shadow. Remember, if it's easier, rotate your pastel so you get a really nice clean edge to your point. And the only line that matters is this line. It doesn't matter if you go over that line there. Looking good. So now, a bit of a shake. When we stick that in, it's going to have a really nice shadow around it. So we can stick that now.